All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Red Delta Project podcast and live feed Q&A here on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. We do this every weekend, Saturdays, typically around 2:30 or so. And this is where we take a fundamental approach to fitness to give you more power, control, and freedom over your diet and exercise habits. As always, I'm Matt Schifferly, founder of the Red Delta Project and author of the books that help to support this channel and this podcast, like Grind Style Calisthenics, Micro Workouts, Smart Bodyweight Training. Links to all those books, including the new PDF versions of all those books, so you don't have to go through Amazon if you don't want, is all down below in the description. So on to today's topic. I've been getting a lot of questions over the past week or so with a lot of individuals saying, hey, plateaued, like I'm not building muscle anymore, or I'm not making any progress getting more repetitions or making progress in the convict conditioning steps. What's wrong? Have I matched or met my limit, my peak? And there's many, many ways to answer this. Of course, none of them are ever going to be correct, really going through the internet, because without knowing you, I have no idea what's really going on. But I can definitely assuredly tell you that on one side of the coin, no, there's no way you're at your limit. There's no way you've exhausted your potential, especially with only a few years or a few months of training. You're not even close. But two, yes, of course you've exhausted your limit. Of course you are at your potential for whatever you're trying to do, but it's an artificial limit. It is a limit that you have imposed upon yourself for several reasons. We're going to explore how to understand these limits and remove them in today's episode. But first and foremost, what we really need to do is get real about plateaus. Like, what are they? Because a lot of the ways we address muscle building plateaus, weight loss plateaus, skill plateaus, and stuff in fitness is because we have a very dysfunctional understanding of what they actually are and why they actually happen. Starting off with that first thing where people say, okay, I've plateaued in my endeavors, what's wrong? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing is wrong. In fact, it's just the opposite. The fact that you have plateaued means your program worked. It means your diet worked. When people come to me and they're like, I've been on this diet and I started losing weight and now I'm plateaued, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. The diet did exactly what it was supposed to do. That is because plateaus are not only part of a normal experience in health and fitness, it is what is supposed to happen every single time. In fact, in the long run, you're supposed to spend the bulk of your training career in plateaus. Okay, I'm going to say that again. You're supposed to be plateaued. You're supposed to stay in plateaus for long periods of time in one perspective. Put a pin in that for right now, okay? The reason why I'm saying that is because when we understand fundamentally how and why fitness works, what we have on our plate is the understanding that we subject our body to some sort of stimuli. And whenever you're doing any kind of exercise, any kind of training, you change something in your diet, hell, you just change anything in your environment. When I moved out here to Colorado, I went up in altitude, right? My body got exposed to the stimuli of living at altitude, thinner oxygen levels, right? I was exposed to that stimuli. That stimuli kicks off adaptation. And it's that adaptation that we are typically in pursuit of in fitness, because that's when changes happen. We lose weight, we build muscle, we get stronger, we improve stability, we get more powerful, we improve our golf swing, all these things, right? This is due to adaptation to that stimulus. And we start changing and modifying and adjusting our body and what it can do, and we think this is great, but then we plateau and we think, what's wrong? And nothing is wrong, because the entire point of that adaptation, of any type of adaptation in all its shapes and forms, is to get you back to homeostasis, to a homeostatic balance. So you expose your body to that stimuli and you're kind of upsetting your apple cart a little bit, if you will. And many various systems are experiencing this, whoa, what's going on here? It's kind of like you're suddenly in an earthquake and you're trying to stabilize yourself and you're trying to walk in a shaky environment. You're a little bit upset in your environment. So you do that adaptation and it calms back down and you regain that homeostatic balance. And that's why there's no more adaptation. There's no more change. And we think something's wrong. But in reality, What's happened is it did exactly what it was supposed to do. The entire point of any and all adaptation from any diet and exercise habit is to get you back to a homeostatic balance. In other words, to get you back into a place where you're no longer having to go through any other big adaptation and you plateau. That is why fitness works. It works because you're supposed to plateau. That plateau is the goal and objective of Mother Nature. Every cell in your body, when it adapts, is doing that purposely to get back to that plateau. So we need to recognize that this is not at all a bad thing. This is entirely what's supposed to work, what is supposed to happen. It doesn't mean something's wrong with your current program or your current diet. This is how fitness works, and it's our perception that is off, because a lot of our perception of what fitness is supposed to do is based on kind of bro science-y marketing sort of thing. Like you watch YouTube videos, you see magazines and stuff. Does anybody really read magazines anymore? And the whole rhetoric is do this and your body's going to change in the following ways, right? Do this diet and your body's going to change. And how much change should you expect? And how frequent should you change? Like 2 pounds a week of weight loss, add 5 pounds to the bar, add 10 reps to your push-up routine, right? This is what the rhetoric is all about. Change, 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 change. But it completely glosses over the fact that this is an idea for beginners. It is an idea for the initial stages of whatever fitness thing you're doing, right? Yes, you are going to experience change, but it's supposed to be short-lived. It's supposed to be temporary. You're supposed to be getting to that plateau. Quicker the better, which is why when people go through multiple diets and stuff, they're essentially training their body to get back to that homeostatic state faster and more efficiently. And it's like, oh, this diet doesn't work anymore. No, it did work. Whereas you lost weight for 6 weeks beforehand, and then you regained homeostasis. Now you only need 3 weeks to regain homeostasis. So we're thinking the diet doesn't work as well. No, it's working even better, because the whole idea that it's supposed to make your body continuously change is an idea that we dreamed up out of thin air. We created it assuming that that adaptation period is supposed to be the reason for fitness, and homeostasis and that plateau is actually the real goal. The adaptation period is just the means to reach that goal. So you might be thinking, okay, Matt, great, wonderful, but I still want to build some damn muscle. I still want to improve things and stuff. Yes, absolutely, for sure. But we need to understand that that plateau is part of the process. And, hear me out, you will not be able to progress until you plateau. Might seem a little bit funny on that one, right? Like, what are you talking about? Think about it this way, right? When we go through an adaptation period and our body regains homeostasis, it's been through a lot. You may not think it is. Like, I only lost 10 pounds. I only went from doing 1 pull-up to 3 pull-ups. Like, it's not that much change. Well, to your body, that's a lot of change. That's a crap ton of change. That is a massive amount of change. So when it's in that plateau, you might think, oh, it got used to it, but it's still adapting. It's still really getting used to it. Like, hold on, I got to really kind of get my bearings here. Like, oh my gosh, you telling me I can now do 3 whole pull-ups? Whoo, boy. Okay, I got to use this for a while here. Hold on, let me sit tight. I got to really kind of get my ducks in a row, because this is a real new area. It's kind of like if you move into a new apartment, right? Everything's really weird. Like, how do I get to the grocery store and stuff? It's got this period where it's got to get used to things. So that's why I encourage people, when you're first in a plateau, like, don't be in such a hurry to get out of it. Sit tight for a while. This is the analogy I always use, is like high altitude climbing, like you're going up Mount Everest. You don't go up Mount Everest in one shot. You go up to base camp and you sit there. You purposely stop going up so you can acclimatize to that new elevation. And then once your body gets used to it a little bit, then you can start to progress. And then you go to the next base camp, or camp number 1 and 2. And you purposely stop. You're supposed to do that to give your body the chance to acclimatize to the new elevation. Well, your plateaus are exactly the same way. You're getting acclimated to the new program and the diet and the workout and what you can do. Don't be in such a hurry to get out of that situation. Sit tight a little bit. Kick your feet up, relax. Now, let it be known too that you're not wasting time in workouts. It's not like nothing's happening. Because the other way that we can perceive this is, it may seem like nothing's happening, but I guarantee you things are always happening in fitness. Every time you do a push-up, Every time you do any type of workout or exercise, you are still creating that stimuli, and your body is still further adapting to it. There is no such thing as an ineffective rep, set, or workout. It's impossible to subject your body to a stimulus and expect it to not adapt in some way, shape, or form. So know that everything you're doing is still working. It's still doing something to your body. It's not a waste of time by any stretch. You are still training your body to be more acclimated to what it is. So in that the way, it's almost like a plateau technically never happens because your body's never static. Your body's always transient. This is an idea from Buddhist philosophy. You technically don't exist because today you're a different person than you were yesterday. And right now you're different than you were an hour ago. And an hour ago, you're different than you were 2 hours before that. Just some little thing is different in your body. A few cells are here and there, a little, if I do this on my hand, I'm rubbing off, I now have less cells on my hand. My hand is technically now smaller because I've brushed off skin cells. We're always changing. And so that cycle of adaptation and stimuli makes sure that we're constantly creating the adaptation to maintain that which we have. Okay, so that's a good thing. So plateaus are very good. Training in plateaus is fine. Acclimating to the plateau is very good. And here's where the opportunity to continue growing comes from. Is yes, you may be in a plateau, but you may feel that I'm at this plateau, but it's a bit of a struggle to maintain that 3 pull-ups or this program or this diet or whatever. Your job now is to make it easier to maintain that plateau, to make it easier to work the muscles that hard to maintain that muscle, to make it easier to stick to that diet, to make it easier to maintain that calorie balance. Because the only way you can go beyond that plateau is to make it as easy as possible to stay there. Because once you have less effort invested in that, now you're like, I'm feeling good here at base camp. Before I was like totally out of breath just going to the bathroom, and now I'm exhausted all the time. But now I'm feeling a lot better. Now you can continue progressing. Now you can enhance what you're doing. You could enhance because you acclimated during the plateau. If you tried to blast out of that plateau as quickly as possible, that would be like being at base camp saying, we got to get the hell out of here. Up we go. And you'd go up maybe another 1,000 feet and you'd get sick and you get exhausted and you may die or you just be like, we can't do this. And you're just back to base camp. So you just spent all that time and energy and effort to go back to where you were. So we need to be friendly with plateaus. We need to be comfortable with them. And we need to recognize that the exercise we're doing is still incredibly valuable and creating a productive stimulus. Once it gets easier, then you can continue moving forward. And don't think you've got to make radical changes. Like that's a big mistake that a lot of people make when it comes to plateaus is, oh, I've plateaued. Okay, overhaul the whole workout. I got to change the whole diet. I've got to take things to extreme and slash my calorie budget in half. And I've got to double my workout volume and stuff. This is usually a very, very big mistake. Yes, you may be able to move the needle initially at first, but again, you can't undo that process of adaptation for the sake of homeostasis. You're going to get back to that homeostasis, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of, are you kind of in control of that? So while you're making it easier, what you want to do is focus on improving your proficiency, my friend. Don't just do the workout. Don't just bust your ass and work as hard as possible. That's like such a small part of what really makes working out effective. It's not effective because you're busting your ass. Every loser in the world is kicking their own ass. Everybody in the bike race is a bike racer. The hardest working person in every bike race is the guy in last place. Technically, the guy in first place is the laziest guy because he did it in less time. So instead, what we want to do is refine the proficiency of your exercise, doing the push-ups better, doing the pull-ups better, creating better recipes for your meals that you're doing. That's how you make it easier. If you get down on the floor and you're like, I do 100 push-ups, I'm like, yeah, but how good are those push-ups? Seriously. Right? You're like, oh, I'm not really going all the way down to the floor. And my elbows are winging out a lot and I'm starting to worm after 50 reps. It's like, there, now you improve that because the bulk of your results does not come from how hard you're pushing yourself. It comes from how proficient you are at doing the exercise. So take these plateaus as the ultimate opportunity for you to say, now I can work on improving things. how well I do them. If you don't know how to do that, in my videos here, you can hire a coach and even just videotape yourself. Film yourself doing the exercise. Trust me, you're going to find a lot of flaws in your technique by watching yourself. You're going to be like, all right, here's my push-ups, and oh my God, is that what I look like when I do a side kick? Oh, geez. Oh, I thought I looked a hell of a lot better than that. Okay, yeah, and you start taking down notes like, yep, my hips are off, and I'm leaning far back, and okay, now you've got things to work on in your plateau. So you're still working with the same amount of work capacity, but you're working on that proficiency, and that keeps you moving forward, and it makes it easier to stay at that level. And before you know it, you're going to wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, suddenly I can do so much more work and work harder, and I can add weight, and I can add reps, and I can do harder exercises, and plateau is broken. Theoretically, plateau, right? It was never a plateau. You're still improving. You're still making yourself better and stronger. So focus on the proficiency to ultimately break out of it. And how long will that take? Who knows? Could be a number of days, could be a number of years. It's one of those things that just, it's a process. It comes through, and everybody's going to be different in how they do it and what it takes. And again, that's the value of a one-on-one coach really helping you, because they can look and know what you need to do a heck of a lot faster than you would ever scrolling through endless things on the internet. So there you go. I hope that gives you some new insights, brings you a little bit more peace with plateaus, and know that, yes, things will improve and progress. I guarantee it. Let's get to some questions here. Now, hopefully, I've been messing around with my technology here. I'm trying to get my camera to be better. I updated the resolution here, but I'm not sure if this is better. I've got a good webcam that I'm trying to connect, but it's not connecting to the computer. So if you find this to be better quality, on your end, please give me a thumbs up just so that I know, or if it's no different, then don't say anything. Just I'll know from a lack of feedback. But let's get to some questions here. Matt D. Hey, Matt. You emphasize proficiency is the key when trying to increase reps. Yes, see, this is what I'm talking about. How would you arrange your training for military-style pull-up test, rep sets, etc.? Well, what I would do is I would, believe it or not, I would do a lot of my training kind of a grease-the-groove format, because you want to plateau your pull-ups as quickly as possible, meaning you want to get comfortable with doing them, because you're not going to increase things as long as they're always a struggle. So you want to do kind of a grease-the-groove format, doing them a little bit every single day, increasing the numbers per time that you can do it. And I wouldn't really necessarily go to failure a whole heck of a lot, to be perfectly honest with you, because once you go to failure, the energy expenditure of further pull-ups is going to be ever so greater. You're going to limit how much you can do. So I would just do pull-ups kind of like you're practicing pull-ups, how well you can do your pull-ups. Power, speed, don't grind them out. Whenever we're doing repetition, stuff like that, we want to make the technique as efficient as possible. We don't want to do pull-ups as if we're trying to build muscle and strength. That's a completely the opposite approach. So grabbing on the pull-up bar, kind of bouncing out, pump reps, banging them out like crazy as much as you can. Keep 5 or 6 reps in the tank, practice a little bit every day, and your proficiency is going to skyrocket, and so will your repetition numbers. Steven Yeager. Hey, Steven. Good to see you, man. Hey, Matt, when is your new book coming? Hopefully in October. Thank you for reminding me. I've got to get back on that. I haven't written it in a couple of days, but I try to keep some writing every single day. But hopefully October will be it's one of those things that comes in waves. You know, I write a lot and so on, but we got Labor Day weekend coming up, and usually holidays, I take the advantage to really write a whole lot. Prod Swift. Hey, Matt, how can you gain muscle size without getting fat? Eating more. I know you don't need to eat more to build muscle. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So, you know, if you're putting on fat, you're just eating too much. It's that simple. So don't eat as much. It really comes down to that much. Like I always tell people, like, if you're putting on fat and you don't eat it, and the reason why I'm always hammering on that is because I find too many people, they're just hammering on that one nail where they're like, if I want to gain size, I got to eat more. I want to build muscle, got to eat more. No matter what their situation is with that plateau of muscle building, they're like, eat more, eat more, eat more. That's the only answer they've got. But when it comes to building muscle, there are so many variables at play that every variable has only so much influence to your results. And once you've maximized that influence, or you've filled that bucket, putting more in isn't going to help you anymore. You need to turn your attention somewhere else. And that's one thing I forgot to mention is, okay, muscle building plateau, make sure you eat enough. Are you eating enough? Good. Stop trying to eat more. Like, you've got that box checked. Look to sleep, look to your technique, look to tension control, look to recovery, look to stress, look to the quality of your diet, look to a million other things it could also be. I knew a guy one time, is like every time he's like, I need to get bigger. I got to eat more. I got to eat more. And one time I was like, dude, you've gone from 20 to 30% body fat in the span of like the better part of a year. Like, it's not food. Like, you're not going to make any more progress that way. You have hit that nail into the wood. Move on. It is something else. And that's the bottom line. You're putting on fat. You're eating more than necessary. So to those out there, I'm like, how do I know? I'm like, well, just eat more. You'll know. You know, your abs start disappearing and stuff. Like, okay, that's about as much as I need to eat to check that box. And then you can stop wasting your time wondering if you're eating enough and focus on some of the other variables. But that's about it. Because remember, fat and muscle are two different tissues. They build and they shrink for completely different reasons. Entirely different reasons. It's not like, you know, if I trim my nails the right way, I'll suddenly grow hair again. It's like, why would that work? Like, there's nothing to connecting the two. It's the same thing. Fat and muscle, totally different tissues. They don't have anything to do with each other. Muscle primarily is driven by mechanical load and stress. Work your muscle progressively harder. That is the number one thing telling your muscles to get bigger and stronger. And then the food is recovering from your workouts, fueling your workouts, that sort of thing. It doesn't mean it's trivial, but it's not what's actually making the process happen. Thankfully, I got off and finished that one after 10 minutes. I try to keep these things a little shorter here. Son Luca, hey Matt, I started doing weighted chin-ups 2 months ago with 10 pounds. Great. Now I'm at 40 pounds for same number of reps, but progress is really slowing down, as it should. Is it normal, or should I change something up? No, it should. That's exactly it. That's entirely what's happening. Good. Keep up the good work. You may want to play around with varying up the repetition intensity. So one of the best ways to just kind of breathe some new life into a strength training program is just change the repetition numbers in the workout, or every week, or every other workout or so. So you got 40 pounds for 2 reps. Great. Awesome. So do like a grind style approach, where it's like you've got a total of like 12 repetitions, 2 at a time, maybe 1 at a time, working on strength, and then do a finisher where you're busting out like body weight pull-ups as many as you can in a minute or something. Check out the latest Grind Style Calisthenics workout program for the month of September. That kind of goes a little bit more into detail on that one. But I think you're right on track. I don't think anything's going wrong. I think just keep on keeping on. The sneakiest. Awesome. Hey, Matt, is it possible to make too much progress from one workout to another and end up plateauing? No, I don't think so. Because progress, there's no manual for this sort of thing. There's no like how much you should. I know there's stuff online like this is how much progress you should make every workout and every week and stuff. It's all a guessing game. Like it's like the stock market. Like if anybody can say how it's supposed to progress over the next month, they've got a crystal ball. They're wasting their time. They should be buying lottery tickets if they can read the future. No one knows how and how much people and what speed people progress at outside of just really regimented training programs where they're literally like at a camp or something like that. But even then, I mean, you look at Biggest Loser and it's like, yep, you didn't lose any weight this week. Well, how is that possible? It's always a crapshoot. The body is not predictable. Progression is not at all predictable. Get what you can when you can get it and handle the plateaus, as I was saying beforehand. Chris. Very good. Hi, Chris. I got a lot of friends named Chris, by the way. Every time I'm talking to my parents and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm going biking with Chris. And they're like, God, Matt, which Chris? Like, seriously? But good to see you, Chris. Hey, Matt, I've been following your workout program for 3 months, but then I had to go to another country in a hotel for 10 days with a gym where there was food. Okay, very good. So 10 days, I know a lot of people are like, I'm going on vacation. It's going to be 2 weeks and stuff. And stuff like that, nothing's really happening. Don't worry too much about it. I asked one of my top mentors, Dan John, strength coach Dan John, about this. I was like, so what happens if someone leaves the program? Like he has a 16-week program. And he's like, you know what? Sometimes it takes 18 weeks to get through a 16-week program. Meaning like, okay, you just pick up right where you left off. And if you were gone long enough that you feel you regressed, okay, you go back a few weeks and then you pick right up back up. You just like, you know, we now return to our regularly scheduled program already in progress. You don't feel like you change anything up. You just pick right up where you left off. Like when you're reading a book, you know, it's like, oh, here we go again. And if you're like, wow, been a while since I read this. I'll reread the chapter beforehand. But it's really that simple. Don't worry too much about these things. Life is going to interrupt training programs here and there. It's part of the process. It's not nearly as detrimental or worrisome as we often make it out to be. A lot of stuff here. Thank you very much. And again, folks, put a hey, Matt, in the comments, and I know you're addressing me, and I try to get to everything, but if I feel like I've missed your question, then just put it in again, because it's just going up the feed kind of thing. Hey, Matt, one more question. I do dumbbell shoulder press at home, but dumbbells only go up to 45 pounds, and I'm already at that level. Can I do unilateral shoulder press to go past 45 pounds? Well, believe it or not, I think the unilateral is going to be easier. Just because the way our attention goes with how we can use tension in the muscles. So a lot of times people will find that where they'll be like, oh, I can press 65 pounds, but they can't press 65 pounds in both hands at the same time. So I think the unilateral is going to be easier. So here's the ways that I would make this harder. Change the speed. Faster or slower is going to work. So go at half speed, and you're going to find that's going to be a new level of challenge. And go twice as fast too. That's going to be interesting. So sometimes I'll tell people, like, instead of nice and slow, like pump reps kind of stuff. Maximize range. So, a lot of times when people do shoulder press, they're like coming down to here, maybe to here, like come all the way here, dumbbell almost under the chin. And then because you can see how much more range I'm getting in my shoulder here. This to this, Arnold's, right? Arnold's, big range of motion. You can do that. You can also shorten your rest periods. I know that's something that's under debate a little bit, but you can certainly do that. And try this one on for size. Instead of doing a standard straight set format, just see how many you can do in a set amount of time, like 3 minutes, 3-minute sets. Okay, that's a good way to go about it as well. So that'll get you going forward a little bit as well. Thank you very much. Should you eat more on rest days? I would just say just eat normal from one day to the next. If you need more food, just get more food all the time. Diets are harder to track when we've got a lot of undulation to it, a lot of inconsistency. Like I eat, 2,000 calories one day, 3,000 calories the next, 2,000, 3,000. If you can get like 2,500 calories throughout, it's just easier on the body. It's easier on the lifestyle. It's easier just in general. So, again, the body doesn't work in 24-hour cycles for these sorts of things. Recovery is multi-day process. So it's not like at the stroke of midnight, your body hits a reset button and it's like, now I need to recover, or I'm done recovering and stuff like that. Or your nutrient requirements hit a reset button. It's like your RDAs are so much protein per day. You don't start at 0 at the end of each day kind of thing. So just think of more whole macro things of, am I eating enough throughout the entire week? Am I eating enough throughout the entire month? I've known guys who literally track volume, not on a workout basis or weekly basis, but on a yearly basis. They're like, how many squats did I do in 2021 or 2019 and stuff? And that's how they track their cycles and stuff like that. So that's what I would do, is think more long-term. Christoph Green, hey Matt, just want to say thank you for your work. Thank you, big fan. Love videos. I really appreciate the love, man. I do appreciate it very much, because ultimately I do this for you guys. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, like, I almost get nothing for these podcasts, and a lot of the work I do for Red Delta Project doesn't put a dime in my pocket. I started this because I genuinely want to help people, because I know what you guys are going through, because I've gone through it myself for so many years, and I know how tough it can be. When years ago I went to a conference, and they had these things called flip cams there. And at the time, I thought video cameras were like these big things, right? And you could post to this neat website called YouTube. And it was just mind-blowing and stuff. And I raced home and I got one of these flip cams, because phones didn't really have decent cameras at the time. And I was so excited to start posting YouTube videos. But making money off of it and supporting myself was the last thing on my mind, because I was like, if I train one person over the course of an hour, then I help one person. But if I make a video and thousands of people see it, I've helped thousands of people. So your appreciation really just means the world to me, because that's why I do it. San Diego, California, CA. Hey, Matt, do you think that by doing drop sets, we can increase our strength and hypertrophy at the same time. Awesome question, because I'm going to make a video on just this sort of thing. Mass from Stronger by Science just came out with their latest issue, and one of the articles in it talked about how things like drop sets aren't more effective than straight sets. And the whole gist of the article was doing the drop sets or stop rest training or pause rest training was another thing. They're like, it doesn't build more muscle or strength. Like, it's basically not doing anything. But they did, in the end of the analysis of the article, were like, but it didn't be worse than straight sets, and it did save quite a lot of time. So for me, I'm sitting there going, what do you mean? Of course it worked. It worked great, because it's a micro workout approach. I talk about pause rest training and drop sets in my book on micro workouts. So this research validated micro workouts essentially. They saw it as a failure for drop sets to build more muscle. I see it as a success because it validated micro workouts, because essentially it was saying micro workouts can build just as much muscle as longer standard workouts. So that's the way I would look at that. Does it build more muscle? Doesn't seem to be too supportive right now, but it's not going to be worse. And if it's going to save you time, I see that as a good thing. And the last thing I'll say on that, though, is the reason why a lot of people like drop sets and pause rest training and stuff is because it feels like, yes, I definitely pushed the muscle hard enough. Versus if straight sets, you might be like, did I push it? I think I did. It's, as Paul Wade often calls it, a belt and braces approach. It's like we're just making sure. It's like hitting that nail into the wood and just give it a couple more whacks just to really make sure it's in level, right? It's a satisfying thing. So I wouldn't expect more from it, but I would certainly expect it to be still effective. All right. Hey, Matt, any thoughts on recommended routine from Reddit? I made a whole video on this, and it was so long ago, I'm trying to remember what the hell I said. But here's the bottom line, is whenever we come across any routine on the internet, even mine, right? I've got 9 grind style calisthenics workout routines now that I've posted up for free on the channel. And eventually it'll be all 12. So it's an entire year of free workouts. Whenever you have a workout off the internet and there's no interaction between a coach or a trainer on what's best for you, you want to treat those routines as templates. Training templates. Like when I rebuilt my website for Red Delta Project, I started with a template, and it showed, people frolicking in fields, and the top said put title here and stuff. I didn't upload that template and think, great, my new website's done. All right, take care, and I'm done. No, you take the template and you're like, oh, I like that image. Okay, but I'm going to put the text over here, and I'm going to change this, and oh, that's not right. I'm totally getting rid of that section and putting in this section, and I'm doubling this, and that's how you make your website, right? Same exact thing with every workout you're ever going to find online. You take it as a template, go through it a few times and think, okay, what do I like? What do I don't like? How does it work for me? What does not work for me? And then you change. We always forget that fitness is like this open source thing that we can change a million different ways whenever we want. Nothing is ever set in stone. So that's what I would say about that Reddit thing, is take it as a template, give it a few rounds, see what you like, see how it fits for you, and then change it however you want. Crack Rock, hey, Crack Rock's back. Hey, Matt. I second Christoph. I love what you do. I'm working out while I'm listening. What are you doing? Give us a play-by-play. What are you working on? What's your exercise of the day here? Excuse me, I drink on up. Sneaky is back on again. Hey, Matt, my school's PE class made us do a push-up test. My teacher openly promoted bad form, typically very common with those sorts of tests. I was the only kid that did 40-plus push-ups with a good range of motion and form. Awesome, fantastic. And believe it or not, the kids recognize that. Right? Good form is one of those things that it just hits us in a subliminal level. You see someone doing push-ups or any exercise and it's sloppy and whipply and wobbly and stuff, and you're like, okay, whatever. But you see someone doing something really good and people are like, damn, that guy's strong. That looks good. That looks strong. We recognize it. After all, calisthenics, the etymology of that word means beautiful strength. So when you have that beautiful strength, people respect you for that. So good on you. Awesome. Master Stratocaster, very good. Stuff you should know. Did just an episode on Fender and Lee Paul and everything, history of guitars. Very interesting. Highly recommend you check it out if interested. But anyway, hey, Matt, What are some of the best ways to speed up recovery? Preferably so that I can work out every other day, every 2 days. So listen to me, folks. The number one thing in recovery by far that is most important and going to make the biggest difference in all aspects of your recovery, this is like 80% of recovery by far, is sleep. Sleep like it's your job. Get as much of it as you can, the best quality you can. You should put as much effort into sleeping as you do in your working out. I know that's not always very practical. I got to get up at 4 a.m. for most mornings. Not going to happen. But that's where you want to turn your attention to. And, with everything that's for recovery, like sleep is important. Yes. Second is diet, right? Make sure you're getting good food and you're getting plenty of it. Good water, that sort of thing. But here's the thing. We got sleep, we got diet. Stress relief is another big one. Okay, that's third down on the list. And then way down on the list a little bit is the stuff like the foam rolling, the massage, stuff like that. Here's the deal though. No one aspect of recovery can compensate for a lack in another area. Okay, so if your sleep sucks, there's no way you're making up for it with diet. If your diet sucks, there's no way you're making up for it with like foam rolling or something, right? Everything has to be taken care of as its own separate thing. And that's often what we need to hear, because this coming back to the plateau thing, a lot of times the thing you need to do to break out of the plateau is address the stuff is important, but you're not really that keen on addressing. So back to my friends, right, who are eating a whole lot, right? And they're eating like crazy, like I want to build muscle, eat, and they're getting fatter and fatter. And I was like, guys, what's your workout program like? How are you programmed? What's your progressive strategy? And they'd be like, stuff, well, how consistent are your workouts? Are you coming in every week? And they're like, sure, I guess. And I'm like, no. Okay. So their attention was on their food and it's not on workout consistency, which is probably what they really needed to be doing, right? Same thing. It doesn't matter how much you eat. You can't out diet bad training. I know it's a twisted around sort of thing. So it's the same thing with recovery. Sleep is by far number one, by far. If you came to me and you're like, I have no experience whatsoever in fitness, what should I focus on? Sleep. Before diet and exercise, sleep. Then the other stuff can come into play. Hey, Matt, we need to know from the OG himself. Donda versus CLB. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm totally sorry. Please clarify in the comments. I live in a little cave here in Littleton, Colorado. I have no experience with the outside world. Honestly, folks, I have no TV. I don't really watch TV. I'm so out of touch with everything going on like crazy. I go home for family, visits, and they're like, have you seen this show? It's great. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, please clarify. Hey, Matt, thanks for answering my question today on Instagram. Oh, very good. Yeah, and everybody, I get so few questions on Instagram. If you have questions, DM me, because I will always answer those. And if I don't, DM me again, because I'm not the best user at Instagram. I've had a couple of times when I've accidentally deleted someone's question. I'm like, oh no, I wanted to reply to you. Seriously, I'm sorry. So yeah, DM me on Instagram, red.delta.project, and I'll get to you. But anyway, thanks for answering the question on Instagram. Do you think isometric workouts should be done at the end of a strength training workout or non-training days? Hey, you could do it that way. They're a great finisher move. They're really good for just keeping the blood flowing and the tension control in those exercises. Piggybacking on the question earlier about improving pull-up proficiency for military tests, isometric pull-ups will be a good way to just kind of make sure everything's turned on. Because man, if your lats aren't really engaging or one of your lats isn't really engaging and you can engage it better with isometrics, that's going to be a game changer for your pull-ups. Like you're going to suddenly feel like He-Man, you're just busting them out like crazy. So I highly recommend the use of isometric training for increasing those numbers. And yes, shameless plug, isometric book down below in the description on Amazon and the PDF. But yeah, end of the workout, but you can do isometrics many different ways. Here's the way I usually think about it. Before your workout, it's a great warm-up. After your workout, it's a great finisher. Intra workout, it's really good to bring muscles and exercises up that are lagging. So if you're having a workout and you're like, oh, my legs are just not into it, or I'm just not feeling this in the back, superset those pull-ups and rows with isometrics and you'll wake it right up and it'll become a much better workout. So you can do it either way. It's a very potent training method for both before, inter, and after working out, and on off days too. Frederico, good to see you, my friend. Hey, Matt, beautiful Saturday evening with you as usual. We also want to thank you for the work and effort you put into Live Fit, Be Fit, and Live Free. Switch those around. GSC is part of our daily lives. Very good. That is really just the dream of mine. Like, seriously, folks, like, yeah, it's great if I can make good money doing this. You know, the past couple of years has been an absolute dream come true where RDP is actually paying for my groceries now. You know, it's actually money I can use to live off of, which I sincerely thank everybody so much. But honestly, like, if you came to me and it's like, okay, you can have $10 million or GSC can be the next big fitness trend. I'm like, oh, big fitness trend, big time. Yeah, I want GSC to be huge. I want it to be the way, and it doesn't even have to be calisthenics. GSC is a method that can use with weight machines and barbells and kettlebells and dumbbells and just a way to improve neuromuscular proficiency, because that's the best way I know of to really help people in this world. Very good. Levash, hey Matt, I feel I have an exercise compulsion problem. I feel like my muscles ache, I lose alertness, but if I go hard, I feel endorphins, regain positivity. Yeah, doctors of silence, I feel hypoxia satisfies it. Yes, dude, I totally agree with you. I know exactly where you're coming from because I had very much the same thing. Yeah, addiction can be from anything that gives us a reward. That's how humans work. We can become addicted. We can be compulsive about anything that we feel a positive feedback loop on. But, you know, due to the principle of hormesis, anything good can be bad and vice versa, depending on the dosage. So here's the way I encourage you to look at it, because I had way too much obsessive compulsive exercise habits growing up, and I deeply regret it. Because basically what it means is you're just beating yourself up for less results. It's not like, because refer to my podcast on hormesis. It's on the R.D.P page, because hormesis basically means that everything that you're doing to get a result can actually hurt that result if you're using the wrong dose. So medicine can be poison. Poison can be medicine. And the same thing goes for exercise. Strength training can make you weaker and smaller. It can hurt your ability to build muscle. Dieting can make you fatter. You know, all the things that we're doing to improve something can actually hurt us if we're using the wrong way. So that's why you want to shift your approach, not towards more, but how much is getting me the best result, the best workouts. Have a high standard, as I often say, a high standard for your workouts. So yeah, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're like, oh, that felt great, but was it really a good workout, or did you just get through it, kind of thing? Have a high standard. Demand better workouts from yourself. And because of that, you'll probably find yourself doing it in a less compulsive way. That's at least the way that I kind of was able to get around it. Umar, hey Matt, kind of weird question, but can a weighted backpack replace a weight vest if one doesn't have money to buy a vest? It can, but I usually don't recommend them for several reasons. But the bottom line is that weight in a backpack is usually just really unruly. Like, the weight is shifting around, it's moving around, the edges of plates and stuff kind of dig into your back. It's just not comfortable. It's not balanced. It can work. I would say it would probably do okay for like pull-ups and dips. And in that case, I would put it on your front side. You know, that way you can also change weight easier. Put it on your front side, because that's just going to feel a little bit better than being on your back. For pull-ups and dips, that's what I would focus on. And even then, I would say don't even use a backpack. If the main primary weighted exercise I always recommend are weighted dips, weighted pull-ups, because they're the safest and they're the easiest to load, because all you need is something heavy, like a toolbox or something, loaded up with rocks, and a rope around your waist. That's the safest, easiest, and most productive way to do weighted calisthenics. Weight vests and stuff like that, I know people are like rows, push-ups and stuff. I would defer to progressive calisthenics techniques first above that. That would be a safer way. You can do it, or you could just have someone push down on you. That would be the way I would go, is you ask someone else to be like, okay, push down on my shoulders as I'm doing my push-ups and stuff. You know, has a niece or nephew or newborn, you know, sit on your back. They would get a kick out of it. That's the way I would go about it. It can work, but I think there's just better options out there. And you can, you can't quite see, the wall's blocking it. You know, my Kensui weight vest. I mean, that's the best weight vest on the market, bar none. The Kensui Fitness, Google it. Yeah, I know people are like, it's expensive. I'm like, then spend the money for it. Don't cheap out. It's the best weight vest ever. And I hate weight vests. The fact that I have that thing gives it enough credence to using it in general. Steven's back again. Amen. What do you recommend if I can't get out of the dead hang in the pull-up? Drop down. You're not getting out of it. Drop down, start again. Here's the thing is scapular pull-ups are incredibly powerful and very, very useful. And one of the big lessons I learned in 2021 is that scapular control and strength is wildly underrated. Because I was like, yeah, I can move my shoulders. I got scapular control. I'm good. But I've been making it a very dedicated part of my training these days, and it's been an absolute game changer in every upper body exercise, bar none, both for joint health, strength, proficiency, stability, everything. And that's why the current version of the Grindstyle Calisthenics workout program for September has those stability complexes that use that scapular control because it makes such a difference. So with that control, you'll be able to get out of that dead hang. But in that moment, yeah, just drop down and you'll keep the attention in those muscles. So it's not a dead hang, it's just a straight hang. San Diego again. Hey, Matt, I always assume mind-body connection was something difficult to achieve, but nowadays more and more people enter bodybuilding and show a great ability to tense the muscles. Oh, absolutely. And you're kind of right about that. It is extremely difficult because how do you do it? As a coach, this is one of the biggest challenges that I face because it is a massively important thing in neuromuscular proficiency. And it can make any exercise go from either completely worthless and unsafe to very effective and very safe, just that alone. But how do you teach someone that? Because there's nothing to see. There's no way I can make your muscles tense up. It's kind of like as if I gave you a piece of sushi and you're like, this doesn't taste good. I'm like, no, you're not tasting it right. You need to taste it different. I'm like, how? Like, do I even do that? But that's why I love isometrics, because improving that mind-muscle connection is very tricky. It's very sketchy, but isometrics is like the ultimate mind-muscle control hack. You can make more progress in a number of days of isometrics than you can in years of just other types of practices. That's why I got into it. Because when Dragon Door started talking about isometrics, I was like, I don't know. But I knew about mind muscle control at that point. And after 3 days, I was like, oh my gosh, my back is finally waking up. I'm making more progress in being able to turn on my abs and my back in 3 days than I had in the previous 2 years. So isometrics, people, it's the ultimate shortcut for making that happen. Excuse me. Gloria, hey, do you think that plateaus are more of a mental thing than physical thing? Oh, it's both. Because you are hitting a limit, for sure. But typically, it's not physical. Actually, you're right. It is more mental. Emotional, let me say that. It is more emotional because usually we are going to limit our training to what we feel we can do and what we feel we should be doing. I got a lot of good information on this years ago when I worked at a gym that catered specifically to people who were 55 plus. And one of the biggest things that limits strength development in people as they're older is their emotional relationship with resistance. Very often, I would be training someone and I would give them stuff that's very safe, like leaning back rows on suspension straps. And I'd be like, okay, let's come on down a little bit. Let's get some more weight on those hands, add the resistance. And they'd be like, oh, no, are you sure? Really? I don't know. And I'm like, you've done 30 repetitions in a row at this level. Like your weight is so light, from a scale of intensity that I guarantee you can move forward 6 inches. But because they felt like, oh, I don't know if I can handle that. Oh boy, it's like, I promise you're fine, But it's funny how people, as they get older, they turn into kids again. It's like the kids going to learn to ride a bike. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, I'm kind of scared. And it's like, I know you can do it. But once they do it and they've done some reps, they're like, oh yeah, this is easy. So a lot of times it's an emotional barrier that holds us back, then a mental, and then a physical. Very rarely, I would say, it's even physical because the body is just this quintessence of dust. It's just stuff going like, what do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? If you put on like an extra 30 pounds on the bar, they'd be like, oh, another 30 pounds. Okay, I guess I got to do that. But mentally and emotionally, they'd be like, I can't handle 30 pounds. Are you crazy? kind of thing. So it's usually the mind and the emotions that are holding us back. Excellent question and observation. Mackerel. I like that. I like mackerel. It's one of my favorite fishes. Hey, Coach, have you ever trained with a flywheel device? If yes, would you recommend for hypertrophy? I haven't, as a matter of fact, but rowing machines are very similar, kind of. The thing I'm always wondering about is, does it have force on the eccentric? That's we've always questioned. I know you can get really good concentric. I've used machines and stuff that use the same thing with pneumatics. Like the pistons you see, like shocks and jacked up pickup trucks with it. It pulls really hard, but there's nothing on the eccentric. Do flywheel devices have force on the eccentric? If it does, then I would say great. If it doesn't, it might be holding you back a little bit in that regard. But it'd be fun to play with. Maybe do a Google search in your area, see if like an athletic training facility or something has one, and you can go play around on it or something. Usually we can get a lot more information through experience than anything else. Frotan Inferno, the white dragon is back. Hey, Matt, what would you say is the best way to reach leg raises? I am struggling to even get one at the moment. Very good. I've seen your 2 videos. I was wondering if you had anything new in mind. So here's the thing: is leg raises. This is very good, actually. You're very, very intelligent in your training if that's what you're experiencing. Because leg raises, and I'm assuming you're meaning hanging, but it kind of also goes with the lying version, is one of the easiest exercises to have compensatory pattern with and cheating with. So you're swinging your legs and you're using momentum and everything like that. And that's why a lot of people are like, these are so easy. They shouldn't be. But if they're easy, you're probably doing them in an easy way. So I would say it's very good that you are kind of not struggling, but adequately challenged by them. Outstanding. I think you're doing things very well. But a lot of that also comes from your stability in your shoulders and your back. So make sure that you've got your upper back and your shoulders adequately trained and stable, because that's what gets your stability. And then you can work off of that stability. So pike push-ups are a big game changer for that one. Rows, do those for a couple of weeks. See if that makes a difference for you as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, one more from front end here. Hey, Matt, can you show us tensing your biceps with your arms extended outwards? It's been difficult to do well for me. Yeah. Also, best isometrics for abs and core. Oh, yes. So if you Google isometrics for the abs, or just peruse the isometrics playlist on the R.D.P channel, you'll find one. My favorite all-time one is the where you have like straps hanging down from a pull-up bar and you kind of pull it downwards towards your knees. That's a really good one. So yeah, it's just out and then you tense your bicep. And it's practice. I know a lot of people are like, and the way that we improve the mind-muscle connection is you literally just keep trying to tense the muscle. It's literally nothing fancier than that. It's like, come on, and hey, got it. All right, okay. Think of that scene from Kill Bill where Uma Thurman's in the back of the pickup truck, and she's like trying to get her little toes to move, and she just keeps saying, move your big toe, move your big toe, move your big toe, move your big toe, over and over, and then finally it just twitches, and she's like, all right, now we go with the other ones. That's literally how the mind-muscle connection thing works, is you just keep trying to turn it on, and just isometrics is a pathway to make that process a lot easier. Oh, Marcus Wright. Good to see you, Marcus. Hey, Matt. I started to think recently that what might be holding some people back is routine. Yes, we can find it hard to break routine. We hate change and fear it to some extent. We must break it. Yeah, and you're not wrong at all there, Marcus, because we find comfort in a routine of a diet, a routine of an approach to a workout and stuff. And there's something to be said for the comfort of that, for sure. But this is why, things like P90X and CrossFit and stuff came out with their whole muscle confusion and changing things up, and routine is the enemy. They're not entirely wrong in that regard. Variety and changing things up is important. So what we want to do is have some structure, but not stifling and suffocating structure that prevents us from being flexible and changing. Okay, so that it's a balance. If we have too much flexibility without structure, then we're just going all over the place and we have no idea where we're going. But if we have suffocating structure, that can hold you back too. So it's a balance between the two. And that's why things like my freestyle approach to workout programming that I talk about in my book, Micro Workouts, which I've been doing for the past couple of years, it's just awesome. I love it. I still apply a grind style approach, but I don't have a weekly routine on what I do. Like today, shoulders and arms are feeling pretty good. I'm probably going to be doing a push chain workout because it feels like it's ready to rock and roll for it. I'm not doing legs though, because tomorrow my buddy and I are riding our bikes up Pikes Peak. I want fresh legs for that. That's going to be a hell on earth. It's going to be literally riding a bike for 2 to 3 hours uphill the entire way. So no, I'm not doing legs kind of thing. So that's freestyle. It's flexible. It's going with my circumstances. And when the opportunities present themselves to go above and beyond what you usually did, you can take those opportunities, and that's where the routine is holding you back. So outstanding. You guys are on the ball today. You are just thinking so good. Love chatting with you guys. That's why I do this, and people are like, how in the world are you on a podcast for an hour answering people's questions? They're like, you kidding me? That hour goes by like that. It's like the highlight of my week. In all honesty, I love doing this. You guys are so inquisitive. Anyway, Ben coming on. Hey, Matt, how are you? Very good. Thank you. I believe I have a good shoulder mobility, but I can still feel them pop from time to time when I do dips. It's not painful, but it bothers me. Yeah. What can I do to solve this? Thank you. So yeah, here's the way we want to think about cricks and cracks and pops and all these sorts of things. The general consensus in the field is that if there's no pain, it's not bad. However, generally popping means that something's just a little bit out of alignment. And if that alignment gets a lot worse, it can result in bad things. So it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine sort of idea. It's not bad, but we want to still address it. Now with dips, I would first look at your scapular control. So I would start with your warm-ups, your dip warm-ups, with scapular elevation and protraction and retraction. Chances are one of your shoulders or both of them is not moving very much or stable in one of those 4 areas. Improving that ability to put it in that area will create more stability, better shoulder alignment in where your arms are moving in that, and probably take care of the issue. So just up and down, front to back, from the dip bars or a push-up position, either way, before that, and it may very well take care of it for you. I do hope so, because I used to have a lot of popping and cracking and stuff. Kieran, hey Matt, what are some form cues I could use to improve my pistol squat and its stability? Outstanding, awesome. So one is I'm a big fan of squat down, not back. In general, I know there's a lot of debate on this, and there was an article on Stronger by Science that it really doesn't matter if you cue someone to squat back versus squatting down. But typically, because the leg is going in front of you, I still feel that a lot of people are squatting back a little too much. And the way I think about it is sit on the back of your shoes. Sit on the back of your shoe, just straight on down. I mean, it won't be down. You have to go back to some degree because it's a squat. But that's the first thing I would think of. Second is make sure you have plenty of stretch in the back of your ankle and the back of your hip. Now, the way I've got to think about this is think of like your hip, like as a ball joint. You've got your medial, you've got your lateral, the muscles on the outside of your hip, and the muscles on the inside of your hip, like running right on the inside of your butt cheek. You want all 3 of those to be mobile. Okay, so a lot of times, at least when I squat, my medial glutes, hamstring complex and stuff is usually very tight due to years on the bike. So I have to tell myself, especially on the right side, to let that stretch out. So stretch the hips, get the hamstrings to pull away from your glutes. And finally, the last one I would recommend is remember, pull into your squats. Squats are a pulling exercise to some degree. You should flex your ankle, your knee, and your hip. So you're not going like down and back, but you're literally pulling your ass to the back of your ankle to pull you forward. Those 3 things should help with the pistol squattage. The Chad, awesome avatar. That is very disturbing though. What are some exercises with weights that can't replicate with calisthenics rings and so forth for if you have some old dumbbells? Which exercise would you recommend for often forgotten muscles? Well, generally, like what I always do is it's not about exercises. A lot of people get focused on exercises, but many years ago when I wrote my second book, Smart Bodyweight Training, I broke the body up into 6 tension chains. And I've basically almost all of my books since then are organized according to these chains. You've got your 3 movement chains, push, pull, and squat. You've got your 3 support chains, flexion, extension, and lateral. And basically everything I do with exercise is addressing the chain, not the muscle group, not the exercise, the chain. Okay? And it's very basic. Push chain is anything where your hands are coming away from your torso. Pull chain is anything where your hands are coming towards your torso, right? Squat is anything where your hips are getting closer to your heel and then further away. Flexion is anything where you're bending your body in half. Extension is when you're extending your body. And lateral is anything where you're supporting your sides or you're doing some sort of twisting. So if you've got all 6 of those chains, you're covering all of your bases. That's how it works. I don't care what exercises you're doing. I don't care what type of equipment you're using or what training method you're using. Push, pull, squat, flexion, extension, lateral, you're covered, whatever it is. And that's why, things like chain training, it just works with everything kind of deal. And then everything that is like isolated stuff like bicep curls, that's just breaking up the chain. So I'm like bicep curls, that's pull chain. So it's still pull chain exercise. I'm just focusing it in one area of the chain. That's all. So as long as you're thinking pull chain, push chain, flexion chain kind of thing, like rows kind of thing, carries, that's pull chain. So yeah, you could look at it like, well, I can't do pull-ups with dumbbells. Maybe if I hang upside down and I do that, like, no. Don't worry about replicating the same thing. You got the same chain, you're going to get roughly the same results. Because muscle is very simple. Origin and insertion point, and it contracts to bring them together, regardless of what the exercise is or what the method is. That's all you got to do. So that's the way I would think about it. And don't worry about like, am I missing out on anything? Probably not, because ultimately your results don't come from what you're missing out, but from how well you're doing the things that you have right now. Boy, I wish I knew that back in the day. I would have saved myself a lot of time and money. All right, next one. Hey, Matt, and what today made you happy? Well, these things always make me happy. My Monster energy drinks. Hey, Monster, sponsor me. That's my one vice in life is my energy drinks. Any props going full to training to death? Almost my master used to say, train so hard to have strength after training to kick ass at least 2 guys. Oh, absolutely. That's a very good point. Paul Wade talks about that with his banking strength methods, where he's like in prison, like it doesn't do you any good to train so hard that you can't survive a fight, because you can't use the strength you have. So you want to be able to go after your workouts to some degree. And I think there's a lot of value in that sort of mentality for sure. But right here, this is what makes me happy, folks. Talking with you folks, answering questions, feeling like I have some purpose in life, being able to help you with your questions. That's what makes me happy. What also has been making me happy lately is just learning how to use my new camera, my new Sony that I bought a couple months ago to make better videos and stuff. I found the manual online. I'm going through it with a fine-tooth comb to learn all the tips and features. Chad's back. What are some exercises with weights that... Oh, sorry, I already addressed that. My bad. Scoozy. I wish I could put a check mark next to ones that I have. No, I can't seem to do that. Oh, well. StreamYard. Hey, there's an idea for you. Put a check mark next to the questions that I've addressed. Leroy, the man, my pistol squat 1 rep max is 100 pounds right now, but it's hard to find a progressive hamstring exercise in calisthenics. I love high volume and intensity for quads. Any exercise for hamstrings to match the volume. Oh, yes, my friend. Step into my office. So you see those straps? Try and get my angle. Right on the wall there. So those allow you to do hamstring curls in very progressive fashions. Very hard, very intense. I know a lot of people talk about Nordic curls. Yeah, it's not bad, but I just feel they always come up short. Like I'll get far more activation, and it's a lot easier entry into suspension hamstring curls. Get yourself a set of suspension straps or make your own. I've got a ton of DIY videos on the Red Delta Project YouTube channel. Just search DIY suspension. And yeah, those are going to fry your hamstrings pretty good. And there's a lot of progressions you can do. You can also do those weighted just by putting a weight on your lap. If you look at the R.D.P Instagram, I have a video maybe a week ago of me doing weighted hamstring curls on those. And that'll get your hamstrings lit right up. And it's also one of the most complete hamstring exercises you can ever do, because your hamstrings work with both your hip and knee joint, and that works with both. whereas most other exercises are either hip or knee dominant. That one works both. So that's what I would recommend. Crack Rock again. Hey, Matt, can you train abs wrong? Oh, good question. I heard you can get fat abs by engaging your core run. Not really. I mean, the bottom line is, muscle just works one way, so not really. I would say not engaging them well is a big mistake with core training, I find. This is a good idea for a video. I should do this, ab training mistakes. So not having good tension control in the abs, because you can still do a lot of those exercises with like hip flexors and stuff like that. So a good rule of thumb is if you feel it in your lower back, stop. Your abs have left the building. They are no longer there. You're not training your abs. You're just training other things, which isn't terrible, but it's not doing what you want it to do. Too many exercises is another one. Like, oh, I could do these crunches, then I do this plank, then I do these twists, then I do that. I have an entire ab workout, and it's like, no, you should be able to get it done in 1-2 exercises. Same with any other thing in your body, So too many exercises and not enough intensity. That's a big one. I do 1,000 of these reps every day. I do 200 reps too. Why are you doing exercises that are so easy you can do 100 reps on? Why are you holding a plank that is so easy you can do it for minutes at a time? My whole thing is intensity, right? So those straps, my favorite thing is the strap stretch outs. 5 reps. That's my max. And if I can do 7, I'm like, I did that way too easy. Way too easy if I could do 7 reps. 10 reps, oh, geez, what am I, just pussyfooting around this workout? Come on. We want intensity. So using exercises that are super intense, of course, there's nothing wrong with 20 rep, things. That's still way more intense than things you're doing 100. But too many exercises, lack of intensity, and lack of engagement. Those are the 3 things I would say are doing it wrong. But fat abs, no. You put on fat because you're eating too much. Too many calories, my friend, not to do with the exercise. Let's see. Oh, let's get one more question here. Before I get on off, I got to go grocery shopping. I haven't got any food in the house. Oops, excuse me again. Lord Vinicius, hey Matt, good to see you. Good to see you too, my friend. Thank you for coming on in. All right, one last one. Hey Matt, I bought that week my first kettlebell. Congratulations. I remember my first kettlebell from USA Kettlebell back in the day when people looked at it and go, what the hell is that damn thing? 30 pounds, I think. Trying to get go to that cool school with smooth movements. Absolutely. Kettlebell work is all about finesse because there is only strength school too. Did you try kettlebells? What do you think about playing with it? Oh yeah, absolutely. So I like kettlebells. They're really cool. But again, it's all about finesse, and I learned this one the hard way. Get a personal coach with them. I know it's like, I got this kettlebell and it came with a DVD and I'm going to watch YouTube videos. No. I got a kettlebell. I started using it, watching YouTube videos and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Went to a seminar, realized I had no clue what I was doing whatsoever. This especially goes if you have trouble activating your hips. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a reason I did actually partake in the Dragon Doors RKC when it was here in town. And I mean, you spend 4 hours on the Turkish getup. You cover a lot of ground with that kind of thing. There's a lot to know about kettlebell training. It's like calisthenics. It's a very deep well. And you just go as deep as you like. Some people out there, they're happy to know how to hinge and they get their swings. And that's all they want from kettlebell training. That's great. Get what you want. Don't worry about the other stuff. And some people, they make it the cornerstone of their entire workout approach. And they've got every book that comes out and they follow kettlebell podcasts and stuff. That's awesome too. Use it to the degree that you want to use it. Don't feel like it's got to be the biggest part of your routine. Use it for what you want to get out of it is the biggest advice that I would do. But work that hinge. Get knowing how to do that swing very proficiently. And if you can get a coach, spend the money. I don't care if they're like, I'm $200 an hour. Spend it. It is worth it. Because remember, when you hire a coach to teach you something, you're not improving things for that hour. You're not hiring them to improve that hour. You're improving everything you're going to do with that kettlebell for the rest of your life. And those kettlebells are bulletproof. I mean, your grandchildren will be using them. They'll survive an atomic blast, for Christ's sake. So you want to make sure if it's a tool you're going to keep, you can keep using it well and better as well. And that's my advice there. And yeah, a lot of kettlebell training is technique based too. Like with calisthenics and stuff. There's a lot of like philosophical crossover between kettlebell and calisthenics, which is why you often find a lot of people who are calisthenics enthusiasts who also do kettlebell and vice versa. All right, folks, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get some food because I have not eaten in like whole minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm very hungry. But thank you everybody so much for coming on. It really does mean the world to me that you come on. We'll be doing this again next week, roughly around 2:30 Mountain Standard Time, because here I am in Colorado. And you can always get the replays of the initial part of these podcasts on your local podcast directory, and books that I reference and stuff to support the channel down below in the description. Now the brand new PDFs are available, and they're also on Kindle and paperback on Amazon if you want to go that route, as well as other resources I recommend, like the NOSC suspension trainers that you see hanging up there. Most affordable, best built suspension trainers in the world, in my humble opinion. That's why I've got like 5 of them, but links down below as well for that. So thank you so much, everybody. I will talk to you next week. Till then, be fit and live free.